Hello, everybody. Welcome again to Storytime from the Milledgeville Public Library of Illinois. Today, we have two stories for you. They're both rather short, and they both come from that old Greek guy named Aesop. These are two of Aesop's fables, the North Wind and the Sun, and the Tortoise and the Hare. They're both of them about things in nature that got rather boastful. They like to talk about how great they were, and how other things in nature took care of that boastfulness. So we'll start with the North Wind and the Sun. Of everything in the sky, the sun and the moon and the stars and the snow, the North Wind boasted that he was the strongest. "There's nothing that can resist me," said the North Wind. "I could blow a blast of air and the roofs will fly off of the houses and the shingles will fly out into the sea. I can blow a blast of air onto the streams and they will turn into ice. I can blow out over the ocean and ships will crash and sink and the waves will be taller than buildings. I am the strongest thing in the sky." "Are you sure?" asked the Sun. "The sky and the land and everything on earth. There are so many things here, and so many of them are very strong. What, I might even be stronger than you are." "You?" said the North Wind. "Ha! What have you ever blown down or made crash or made go tall or no, not you. You can't possibly be stronger than I am." "Why not?" said the Sun. "Let's put it to the test. Would you be willing to do that?" Of course I'll have a contest with you. I'm going to win." "Well, I don't know," said the Sun. "Do you see that traveler down there, traveling down the road, walking down the road? Now, I am sure that I can make him take off his cloak. Are you strong enough to make him take off his cloak, North Wind?" "Of course I can," said the North Wind, and he sent a howling, frigid blast of air to tear the cloak away from the man. But the man, shivering in the very cold wind, wrapped his cloak even tighter around himself. And then the wind sent a swirling whirlwind to swirl around the man and rip his cloak off of him. But the man just held on to his cloak even tighter. It didn't matter how strong the North Wind blew. He could not rip that cloak off of that traveler. Finally, the North Wind was all blown out and he couldn't blow anymore. And he had to admit that he could not make the traveler take off his cloak. "Well," said the Sun, "now it is my turn." And the Sun sent down warm beams of light down to where the traveler was walking. The man sighed with relief. The cold wind was over and the sun was warm and steady. And the further the traveler walked down the road, the warmer the sun got, until he pushed his cloak back off of his shoulders so that it wasn't quite so heavy and warm on him. And the sun continued to beam down strongly on the traveler until finally the traveler stopped and he took off his hat and he wiped his forehead and he looked around him and he saw a tree just over there with a beautiful patch of shade beneath it. And he walked over to the tree and he took off his cloak and he laid it down on the ground and he laid down to rest. And so the North Wind had to admit what the Sun had known all along. Gentle persuasion succeeds where force fails. And now on to our second story. This is the story of the tortoise and the hare. Now, a tortoise is kind of like a turtle. And a hare is kind of like a rabbit. There are some little differences, but they look similar. So just in case you weren't sure what a tortoise or a hare was, now you know. Tortoise is kind of like a turtle, and the hare is kind of like a rabbit. Well, this particular hare was very conceited, and she was so sure that she was the fastest hare. She challenged everybody in the forest to a race, and she beat all of them. All of the other hares, all of the rabbits, all of the lions, all of the monkeys and the elephants, and everything she raced, the deer and the wolves, everything she raced, she was faster. And so she started boasting about it, telling everybody who would listen that no animal in the forest can beat her in a race. No animal in the forest can beat me. I am so fast. Not even the north wind is as fast as I am. I am so fast. Well, the hare seemed to think that being fast made her the best thing ever. Now, many of the animals started to get very tired of the hare boasting about how fast she was and how great that made her. The tortoise got very tired of it very quickly. And the tortoise said, "You know, hare, we've all heard you talk about how fast you are, but I've never seen you run. Why don't you race with me, and we will see who is the fastest? You see, my grandpappy always told me that just because you can do something fast doesn't mean you can do it best." Well, the hare burst out laughing. She said, "I could beat you standing still. Your grandpappy was crazy. Of course doing something fast means you do it the best." But in the end, the hare agreed that they would have a race. They would race from the edge of the forest, around the bend in the meadow, around the bend in the road, up into the meadow, and up to the big oak tree on the hill. And so all of the animals heard about the race. And the day of the race came, and all of the animals came, and everybody was watching. And someone yelled, "Go!" And in an instant, they were off. The hare took off running and was going so fast that pretty soon it was out of sight. She was out of sight up there, up the hill. And she looked around her and she said, "I'm so fast. I've practically won already. You know, I could lay down right here beside the road and take a nap. Well, maybe not a nap. That probably wouldn't be wise, but I could take a little rest. And I could still beat that tortoise to the finish line." She settled down beside the road. Her plan was, as soon as she saw the tortoise coming up over the hill, she was going to jump up and finish the race to the oak tree and beat the tortoise. But the grass was very, very soft. And the sun was so warm. And the hare was so confident that she was going to beat that tortoise easily that before she knew it, she fell asleep. Now, when the animals yelled "go," the tortoise began to walk toward the oak tree. Step after step after step, just keeping on walking. The tortoise knew that doing something fast sometimes meant you did it best. But a lot of times, doing something fast really wasn't the best way to do something. The best way to do something was to take your time and do it right. And so the tortoise just kept on walking. Even when she got tired, even when the sun was so warm and she wished she could rest, she just kept walking. Slowly, she came up the hill and around the bend through the meadow, and she spotted that hare sleeping there beside the road. But the tortoise didn't stop. She was tempted to stop and take a little rest too, but she knew that the best way to do something is to just do it all and finish it all. And so she kept on walking. Pretty soon she was getting close to the oak tree and the finish line, and all the other animals were standing there waiting, and they started cheering and yelling, "Hooray, hooray, go tortoise, go!" Well, all of that yelling and cheering woke up the hare from her nap. And the hare looked up and she looked around and she saw the tortoise just a few feet from the oak tree, and she jumped up and she raced off as fast as she had ever gone in her life, like she was being chased by dogs. She ran so fast. But she was too late. Before she could reach the oak tree, the tortoise had already come up and touched it with her nose, and all of the animals were jumping up and down and congratulating the tortoise on winning the race. And so the hare came up to the tortoise and she said, "Well, I guess I have to admit it. Doing something fast does not always mean you're doing it best. What did your old grandpappy used to tell you?" And the tortoise said, "Grandpappy used to say, doing things fast doesn't always work. Slow and steady wins the race." And that is the story of the tortoise and the hare. So I hope you enjoyed the north wind and the sun and the tortoise and the hare from that old Greek guy Aesop. And I hope you'll come back and join us again next Friday at 3 p.m. Central Time, when we'll have another story for you here from the Milledgeville Public Library of Illinois. Have a great day, everyone. Bye.